And I don't know anyone personally who has every single time that they've put something out into the world, into the internet, that it's been like a winner, winner, chicken dinner. Well, hello there, friends, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited to be with you today. I'm going to do a 4-set series. So this is one of 4 on just some things that I think are going to help you guys in terms of like admitting to some disasters and some things when business did not go well for me, for the team. Totally hoping to like normalize failures in the online space, to totally like help make you feel like it's not just you, to really exhort you into just like starting back up, just not staying down too long and getting right back at it. Because I think sometimes well, let me say this. Recently, I did a poll on Instagram. And here's the interesting thing about polls. Like I have, 106,000 followers. I have, I don't know, like 106, like I know exactly, I have 106,000 followers on Instagram. And so I did a poll and 15 people respond. No, I'm kidding. But it's never like 20,000. It's never even like 10,000. So first of all, if you see a poll, just like hit a button on the screen. I mean, it takes 2 seconds of your time, but anywho, I digress. So I recently did a poll on Instagram and was asking the people that follow me, okay, if you are someone who is in business, are you feeling stuck in your business? Like yes or no, really easy, right? 63% of my business followers said that yes, they feel really stuck in their business. And so like my team and I were talking, like, what can we do to help the people who are really feeling stuck? I feel like this is my space. Like this is my genre. This is my niche. I wrote a book on staying stuck. Okay. It's the follow-up to Fear is Not the Boss of You. Get Unstuck and Stay Unstuck is the name, in case you haven't heard. So like, I'm going to do a quick 4-part series. These are going to be short-ish, where I'm just kind of like pulling back the curtain on some things in my own business and show you like where I have been stuck and also like what I have done and, related to that, like what you can do for those 63% of you who may be listening today, for 2 out of every 3 of you who are feeling stuck. Okay. If you're winning, if you're like, Jenna, I'm kicking ass. Well, like, high five, girl. High five. Go listen to another one of my podcasts, but this one's probably not for you. Okay. So here's what I know about the online space and also like kind of what social media has done to our industry. All right. It is really easy just to see everyone's highlight reels on social media and to see other people who look like they're winning. And I'm using, air quotes if you're watching me on YouTube. And it's easy to assume like maybe just everything they touch turns to gold, or they've always been super successful with everything, that they've put their hand to, everything they put out into the world, et cetera. And the truth is like, it's just not true. It is just not true, at least not for me. And I don't know anyone personally who has every single time that they've put something out into the world, into the internet, that it's been like a winner, winner, chicken dinner. And so I do think that the more sometimes that we like hear of other people's struggles, I think that like the more normal it makes you feel. When we hear from other people, like, gosh, that was really anticlimactic. That was pretty disappointing. Like that makes us feel like, okay, good. It's not just me, right? Like I'm not totally alone. It's not just me. I'm not a total loser. I'm not a total failure. Like other people have lackluster results also, right? At least I think I know recently, I've been hearing from different people in my industry just about, some areas, things that they used to do in their business that have, they used to like work really well. And now those things are just not working as well. And while like, I'm not rejoicing in their struggle, I am going, okay, well, it actually makes me feel a little bit better about some of our tactics that we've used over the last, 3 or 4 years that have been like, win, slam dunk, not easy, but, like got us the results that we wanted. Like some of those things have definitely shifted in the last 6 months. And so when I hear that other people are seeing similar things in their business, it makes me feel more normal. I'm not like rejoicing over their struggle. It just makes me feel like, okay, there's some sort of comfort to that with you like sharing that with me, because it makes me feel less alone. And so for those of you who feel like you're really alone in your business struggles right now, like I want to try to help you with that, because I've had a lot of things flop, friends. I've had a lot of things flop. I'm about to tell you a big story. So, and I want you to know too that like I have said forever and a day that 80% of your business is mindset. And we think that our business is going to be built on strategy. And yes, it takes both, right? But you can have all of the strategy in the world. You can have the best 1, 2, 3, 4 system. You can have the best do A, B, C, D. You can have the best plan laid out for you. And if you are not thinking clearly in the head, if you are self-sabotaging, if you struggle with the idea of making money, if your mind is not in alignment with things being a success, if your mind is not in alignment with who Christ says you are and what the Lord says about what you're doing, like if you get those things wrong, it doesn't matter if you follow 1, 2, 3. It really, because you may check off the box. Yes, I sent the email. Yes, I did the post. But what were the words that you used? Could people smell something almost through your Instagram post? Was it like a really low position that you were launching from? Like there's so much. You may check the box, but if your mindset, which is 80% of the work that you are doing, if your mindset is not right, I promise you all the strategy in the world is not going to make a difference. Okay. And some of you may know that I got my life coaching certification 2 years ago. It was over 2 years ago that I went to like a 5-month-long life coaching school that I did online. It was, fabulous. I learned so much. And here's like one of the biggest takeaways. Okay. Like, let me just share this with you. Okay. So as a certified life coach, this is what I know to be true. I know that the thoughts that you think produce the feelings that you feel. So you think to yourself, gosh, I feel chunky today. And then you start feeling horrible about yourself. You start feeling like I look like a slug. Everybody's wondering why I've gained so much weight. Like the things that we think are going to produce our feelings. Okay. And then how you feel dictates how you act. Like, so if I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, I look awful. Oh my goodness. I feel so crummy about myself. Whatever. I will act in ways that are not in alignment with who I really want to be. I will eat 3 donuts for breakfast instead of going to the gym. I will, self-sabotage myself by offering the kids, a trip to ice cream, knowing full good, well, you're going to get ice. Like, I'm just using this as an example because it's just fresh in my brain because I may or may not have had 3 donuts for breakfast this morning. Anyhow, what you think produces your feelings, and then how you feel produces what you do, and what you do produces the result. So like, I can't be shocked when I get on the scale this week and I'm like, oh, it didn't move again because #3 donuts, right? So like, if you're wanting to see any different results in your business, then you have to act differently. Yes. But before you can act differently, you're going to have to think differently. You're going to have to think differently about your launching, about your business, about your results, et cetera. Okay. So I know if you have recently had a lackluster launch, or sales have gone down, or you just haven't had the same amount of clients as you had before, or a lot of people are leaving your group or whatever. I know it's easy to start internalizing that and feeling like a failure. It's easy to start thinking that you're a failure, but what's way more conducive is to have different thoughts and then get some different results. And I think that sometimes what's helpful for you is if you hear that other people have had some lackluster things too. I mean, full transparency, we've had a lackluster launch in the past couple of months. One where I was like, well, that was, wah. Geez. Okay. Unimpressed. And, the truth is like, that's a lot of people in the coaching space right now. There are a couple people I talk to, but I know they're not giving me the real. The ones who are giving me the real are like, yeah, things have changed. So like, if that's you, if you've had a lackluster launch this year, just know like that you're not alone. You're definitely not alone. And I want to tell you guys a story about not just having a lackluster launch that we just recently had, but I want to tell you about a time when I had a launch and not one single person bought. Can I tell you about that? Not one single person bought. Okay, let me set the story up for you. So this was several years ago. Real quick though, I have to write myself a note because I just thought of another story I want to tell you guys. Okay, so I'm writing it down. Okay, there. I wrote it down so that I don't forget because hashtag menopause. Okay. All right. So several years ago, I was going to launch like a 6-week mentorship program. Okay. I had went to all the trouble of like recording all the videos. I had somebody come in and film me. So I had spent time, and treasure. I paid for it and, had everything like videoed. And I was going to launch this mentorship program with a webinar. And I had done webinars before. And so I was like, easy breezy, mac and cheesy. Okay. So I decide that I'm going to do this webinar and launch this mentorship. And, I'm ready. I'm all excited because I really believe in the mentorship that I was doing. And I thought this is really going to be so helpful. And it was really like a mindset mentorship. And it was going to be really good. Okay. So I do the webinar and I had 0 sales come from the webinar. So you know how when you're on a webinar, like that's when you're pitching your course that's for sale. So I get on the webinar, I crush it. I get to the part where I have to pitch. I get done and like 0 people buy and 0 people buy for like several days. Okay. Now listen, this wasn't when I had like, 500 people on my email list or following me on Facebook. No, this was after I already had hundreds of thousands of social media followers. This was already after I had a big email list. So like embarrassing. I mean, 0 sales, you guys. So embarrassing. And for a couple of days, I did lick my wounds. Absolutely, I did. I think that it is important that you feel all the feels in the moment, but that you don't let yourself stay there. Okay. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But eventually I did launch again and I had sales. But what I want to tell you about is the time, before that when I didn't have any sales, because the thing is like, I know in retrospect what I did wrong. And I've been able, I was able to kind of push back from it and get like a 6-foot vision and be like, okay, what just happened there? And later I was able to see, well, I didn't really push very hard for the sale of my mentorship on that webinar. I didn't really talk about it long enough. I didn't give all the benefits. I didn't come from a position of like confidence. Instead, it was almost like I was back into my summer job in between when I was a freshman in college and going to be a sophomore in college. That's actually when I also dropped out, turned out, because I had ruined my scholarship. However, that's not the point of this podcast. Okay, the point of the podcast is this. So during the summer between freshman and what was supposed to be my sophomore year in college, I took a job as a telemarketer. Okay, let me just tell you something. An introvert as telemarketer, probably like not the best thing. Number one. Okay. Number two, I had 0, I'm talking 0 experience in sales of any kind. And that's essentially what telemarketing is. I was selling like a phone service. Okay. And you guys, I was awful. I was absolutely awful because this is what would happen. I worked like a weird, like, I don't know, it was like a 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock shift or something. Okay. So it was like over the dinner hour and stuff. So I would call people. And back then we had, the touch tone phone, like, it could have been the rotary. But anyway, it was like that. Okay. And small enough community didn't even need a zip code. No, not a zip code. What's it called? Area code. Didn't even need an area code. All right. So I would call people. And I would have somebody answer, hello. And I would start my little spiel and they would be like, oh, I'm not interested. And I'm as sure as I'm sitting here, you guys, I would literally in my brain think, I don't blame them. I wouldn't be interested either. I like totally don't blame them for saying no. I would literally be like agreeing with them on the inside. Sometimes I would call people and like they would be in the middle of dinner because it was the dinner hour, right? And they would like totally get mad at my timing. And I would just be full of apologies. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. People would know that I was a telemarketer that they were being sold to. And I would feel like I just needed to like almost apologize my way out of it, even though that was my job. Like, so sorry to bother you. And I absolutely understand where you're coming from. And the truth is like when it came to like selling, I felt so gross that I was trying to like sell to them from this like little tiny wimpy position, this little like small, like, I don't know, here's this thing that I have. I don't actually know a whole lot about it. I shouldn't even actually believe in it. But if you'd like to know more about it, I'll tell you. You don't want to know more about it? Okay, cool. Like I don't blame you at all. I wouldn't want to either. Okay. That's essentially what I did 30 years later on my own webinar. Like I undersold it like crazy. I rushed through the pitch entirely, almost like I was bothering them at dinner. I felt gross, like I was selling. I didn't really, I don't think I really truly believed in what I was selling either. Because if I had, even though I was excited about it, if I had, I would have come from a more confident position. Not confident that people were going to buy, not confident about me being a salesperson, but like confident that like this thing is going to be helpful to you. This thing is good and you actually need it. Like that sort of a confident position. And what I figured out when I got done with the webinar that had 0 sales is like, I had this realization, okay, I know that I love to teach, but apparently I'm a horrible salesperson. That's what I walked away with after 0 sales. And so what ended up happening in the like months and years to come after that webinar is I was determined, I'm going to figure this thing out. Like I just was. Yes, if you were watching me on YouTube right now, this is a new Stanley cup. I was the other day, I was like, what is this box in my husband's closet? Okay, well, we share a closet. We have like a big master closet, and then there's a room past the master closet. Um, if you ever listened to my podcast on the story of Ari, our adopted daughter coming to live with us, you'll know that at one point that's where she would only sleep in that room. It's like the closet behind the closet. And there's a window and, dresser in there and all that. But then I just had it made into a shoe closet for my husband. And then we got a little girl and that's the only place that she would stay in our house. Oh my gosh. And that was years of convincing her to come and get out of the closet essentially. And so then now it's back to my husband's shoe closet, but we also call it our packing closet. That's where I put everything. Like I'm getting ready to take the mastermind women on our mastermind trip to Arizona next week. So like all of my packing and things are in there. Anyhow, why did I even bring that up? Why did I bring up my closet? Interesting. I don't know. Okay. Well, here's what I'll tell you. No clue. I knew though, okay, lots of other people, they are having good experience in the online space. They're doing webinars and having sales. They're like able to somehow figure it out. And I knew in my knower, like, I'm just as smart as them. I am just as good on camera as them. I am just as knowledgeable as them. And so like, if they can have those results, like I can have them too. I will tell you guys that that's probably a mindset that I've had about almost everything all of my life. Honestly. I recently did a podcast. Let me see what podcast number this is for you guys. Okay. Hang on just a second. And I will tell you a good podcast that, wow, I am shocked at how many people are like, oh my gosh, Jennifer, that was so good. I'm like, good. Okay. It's episode number 432. It's called Acting on Your Heart's Desire. And, I think there's some things that we're born with, other things that we really learn. I don't know if I was born with some good mindsets around the fact that I can, if somebody else can do it, I can too. It's also biblical, by the way, because the Bible says, is it in Acts? Is it in Acts 4:20? Don't quote me on that. I don't think that's right. But it says, God is no respecter of persons. Let's see where that's at. Okay. Let's see where that's at. So I'm not telling you wrong. Okay. So I let myself feel bad about my webinar. Let's see. God is no respecter of person. I'll tell you where that's at in the Bible because I don't want to quote things wrong. Acts 10:34. I wasn't that. I was at least in Acts. Okay. Good job, Jen. And so I decided I was not going to associate my worth with the results of that webinar. And if you've had something that's gone awry lately, like I hope you've done the same thing. You are not your lunch. You are not your business. You are you. You are the head, not the tail. You are above and not beneath. You are beloved. God calls you friend. You are not whatever results your business is currently getting. Okay. And so I was determined I was going to figure out how to do that webinar better. And I've sold tons from webinars since then, but I still like remember the sting of zero sales. I still remember the embarrassment because people knew I was launching, right? My girlfriends, how's your launch going? Crap. It's going like crap. Okay. I still remember feeling like almost ashamed because I'd, spent money on having this thing filmed and put a lot of time and effort into it. And then, 0 sales out of it. But the thing is like, I refused to stay there. That's the thing. I refused to stay there. So listen, if you've had a failed anything recently, or a decrease in sales, or people leaving your group, like, just know that it's even harder now than it was then. Because the online space is just louder, it's just more crowded. And so I encourage you, if you are feeling super stuck, like what we started this episode talking about, like, give yourself the opportunity to be in your feels for a day or two. Okay. Let's say a day or two, but then I need for you to get up and get right back at it. And I need for you to look at the results that you got and figure out, okay, if I'm really being honest, what do I think was the problem? If I was on the phone with Jen right now, or if I was sitting in her office in Kansas City with her right now, and she said, why do you think nobody bought? Like, can you get really honest about that? Were you like I was on that webinar? And were you pitching from like being back on your heels? Were you pitching from a place of like, I don't know, I kind of have this thing? And like, were you almost downplaying your experience? Were you downplaying the greatness of this opportunity? Like, did you not really go all in? See, the thing is, if you'll be honest with whatever is actually the reason, then like we can totally work on, changing that, coming from a different position and going right back at it. So give yourself a day or two. I know, I have a dear friend of mine, Shauna, who is a personal trainer. And Shauna has, she's been in the personal training industry for like 30 years. Okay. So she's not like a fly by night. She's been doing this for a long time. And she told me years ago, the way that she can tell when she has one of her clients lose weight, or get healthy for the first time in their life, or suddenly develop muscle, or, compete in their first triathlon, or whatever. She's told me the way that she can tell who's going to be successful and stay successful is this: when they fall off the horse or fall off, the track or whatever, do they stay off, or how quickly can they get right back up? Because if you can have like a horrible eating day, but then not let that one bad eating day turn into 1 week to a month to 2 years, like I have done, like, can you just have one bad meal and get right back into the gym the next day, get right back into counting your macros the next day? Can you do that? So give yourself a day or two to be all in the fields and get back to work. Like, figure out why that thing went haywire and work on it, and decide, you're not going to be okay with those results. And so, gosh, I hope this helps somebody today, just to hear about how I had a failed launch. Now, I've also had launches that have, hit nearly $1 million in sales. So I've had both extremes. One is way more fun than the other, by the way. And so maybe you're listening and you haven't had lackluster results. You're not even actually in business. You're not feeling discouraged. You're not stuck. Would you forward this podcast episode maybe to somebody, though, who that is? And because I would love for it to be an encouragement to someone. And I want you to know that we are getting ready to launch something brand new next month. If you are not on my email, I want you to go get on my email list. And I'm going to tell you here in just a second. It is jenniferallwood.com/email. jenniferallwood.com/email. But I want you to go get on my email list. May 13th, we've got something brand new dropping. And this is not a course. This is not another membership group for you to join. This is something brand new that's going to help get you unstuck in your business. So make sure you're on my email list at jenniferallwood.com/email. Send this to someone who could be blessed by it. And friends, like, man, don't hide and just give up, or just go ahead and throw in the towel when things aren't going your way in your business. I know the frustration of being stuck. I have been there many times, many times. And the key is just not to stay there. And so I hope that this was helpful today. I am so rooting for you. I will see you in just a couple days on another podcast episode. Until then, be blessed. Bye-bye. Love you, son. You're going to be home next week. Can't wait.